Hello, hello. Welcome to the KCP Community Bi-Weekly Meeting. Today is Thursday, November 12th, 2025. This meeting is being recorded and it will be published on the internet on YouTube. This meeting is also being covered under the CNCF Code of Conduct, which boils down to be excellent to each other. We have a couple of topics on the meeting agenda today. So before we get started, I have posted the link to the agenda. Please add yourself as the meeting attendee. And if you have any topics to discuss, please use this opportunity to add those topics to the agenda. And the first thing is new meeting attendees. Do we have anyone new who would like to say hi, maybe? I think no. But if anyone watched this and would like to introduce themselves, we have the KCP Slack channel where you can always come by and say hi. And let's get started with topics. Zimun, your topic is the first one. Do you want to get started?
Yeah, sure. So one thing I think that sometimes is useful when you are developing locally is accessing etcd, whether you want to find out how etcd is structured or you just want to know what happened to a certain document. It's useful. And one of the issues at the moment is, or that like small things that pain me, is that you cannot use etcd workbench at the moment, which I guess is probably one of the most popular UI clients, at least for etcd. The reason for this is rather annoying. It's because that thing is built on Rust in the backend, and the Rust library does not have support for P521 keys. Yeah, I realized that that is a funky type of reason to change it, to just like support one client. However, I would wager in that like we don't gain any security benefit from the P521 keys, simply for the reason it's for local development. If you quickly start up KCP start with embedded etcd. And it is rather straightforward to change. So I have attached the second link to this is what the code change boils down to, basically. Marco, if you could open it. So I've done like what it would look like in practice. So it's one file change. It's, yeah, you can see it's it's pretty straightforward. And I just wanted to hear your opinion, how you feel about this. I realize the reason is a bit interesting, but I do think that this provides a ton of usage if you're developing locally and you don't have to use etcd all the time, etcd-ctl all the time. So that's my super tiny topic for today. Opinions.
I'm in general +1. That etcd shouldn't be used in production. We have different guidelines for production, or we will have them soon, thanks to MJ. So +1.
Nice. I saw a couple of thumbs up in the in Google Meet as well. Okay, then I would go ahead and make that. Can we make? Okay, so MJ is asked. MJ, yes, go ahead.
Can we make it just at least like configurable and default to what you change now?
Yeah.
If somebody random pops up and says like, no, I still want old one, some flag or something, I don't know.
Yeah, Nilo has raised his hand.
Let's make it configurable if the need comes up, because a higher security, I don't think that it makes it's going to make any problems. And if that comes up, then we can change it so that it's configurable.
Oops. Is that fine for you, MJ? Sorry, I'm now a bit lost. Okay, MJ gives thumbs up. Okay, so we'll just not make it configurable. We just do what the pull request is.
Okay,
Okay.
then I misunderstood this, but
Yeah,
correct.
that's why I asked. Okay, then this topic is quick and easily finished. Perfect. Next topic.
There's a hands up for Christoph.
Quick question in between. MJ, we talked about making the KCP operator easier to use, and you mentioned maybe allowing shards to run with integrated etcd, if I remember correctly. So I'm wondering if the KCP operator could technically support no external etcd, but internal etcd, then maybe a flag would make sense. Because at that point, it's not anymore just the local development mode, then it's we kind of support to run it in a cluster really mode. So maybe the flag then makes sense.
Yeah,
But-
because I just did a quick. So basically, this lowers the security, right? Yeah. So okay. Sorry, long day. So that's why I was saying let's make it configurable, because we're not putting it higher. We're basically lowering the security.
It's lowering. When I read the issue back when I worked with Workbench, I thought it would raise it and
No.
so that it required higher security standards, so to speak. But that it requires lowering. Okay.
Nope. I mean, we are still talking on like gigantic high levels, right? These are elliptic curve max key length versus second max key length type of discussions. But yeah, should we just go with make it configurable? I don't think it's super difficult to make it configurable, and we just set the default to 384, which is sufficient for everything, and then it's fine. Like it's really not much work to make this configurable. I'm hoping.
Then you will make it configurable in embedded etcd and then add a flag to KCP to make this configurable, basically.
I think so.
Okay.
Add a flag to KCP start, I guess, which is a thing that uses embedded etcd.
And the flag would use a higher one. Like by default, it uses the lower one, so the client works, but you can basically bump it up. So if we end up using it in KCP operator, we can bump it up by default.
Yeah, exactly. In KCP operator, you could start KCP with that specific flag to make it higher.
Okay, I will just throw this out there. How many people have actively looked into etcd recently to debug this? Is it really the same choice to default to lower security for the maybe one person who once in a year in a blue moon needs etcd Workbench to look into etcd?
I agree with Christoph. I also think we should default to the higher security, and if you need, you lower security.
My only counter argument to this whole thing is someone that is using etcd Workbench might not know about this because it's completely intransparent. You have someone, they run KCP start and they say, okay, I want to quickly debug etcd like how I have debugged any other etcd so far. Because also no other etcd uses P521 elliptic keys by default.
It's good to know. Marco.
Yes, to what Simon said, the problem is at the point you realize you need etcd benchmark, you will not be able to change it. Like you will need to delete everything, get started all over again, and then you're testing something. This is the problem. Like this KCP start is supposed to be a non-production thing. We can afford lower security, and if someone really uses it, well, they can just bump the value. And in case of KCP operator, this will be, I am pretty sure, relatively trivial.
Do we know what the default is in etcd for etcd? Certainly not what we are using. Do we know why we ever changed it to P521? Probably
just not here, so we have to. I to be also honest, I never expected that Rust TLS would have issues with P521. But
do we know what's the default for kubeadm, for example? Because I'd expect you can use etcd Workbench with Kubernetes cluster or something like that.
So I cube admin init. Wait, I almost have it. The certificate key is hex encoded string that is an AES key, 32 bytes. So that's like something completely different.
Okay, I'm giving up my strong positions on anything. As long as we have a flag, I can see good reasons for anything. So
No. All right. Then if it is fine for everyone, I think we can move to the next topic.
Any questions for Simon?
Oh, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm asking if there are any questions.
Okay.
I will take that as a no. So I can go to my topic. It's interesting one. It has been discussed in different venues so far, and I will try to provide some TLDR. Let me open the issue. So I will try to find a way to explain it in the most simple terms so that everyone can understand. But basically, the idea of this issue is that what are we going to do? We have the API export virtual workspace, and basically you can use it to access the objects of resources provided by the API export in different consumer workspaces. Now, the idea is that we want to limit what you can access. And at the moment, the idea is to do this by labels. We have something similar for permission claims, but now we want to do this for the main resource that is provided by the API export, so that you can basically say, okay, I want that we like filter it by some label that is put on the object of that resource. And for that, this is basically this ticket. The idea of that comes actually from some time ago, so it is nothing too new, but we are getting started on this just now. And how do I imagine that this is going to work? It is basically that we are going to create a new virtual workspace. Initially, the best would be if this virtual workspace lives out of tree, so that we put it somewhere else, not in the core KCP, and that we try to figure out how it is all going to work, to test it and everything. It's going to be based on API export virtual workspace. They will work like 98% similar. It is just that it is going to provide that filtering. However, the difference will be how is that API, filtered API export virtual workspace created. It's going to be by defining the endpoint slice. So you are going to create filtered API export endpoint slice. You're going to provide the API export itself and the label selector. And that's basically going to update the filtered API export virtual workspace and to create endpoints that you can use to access only objects that are matching labels in the filtered API export endpoint slice. So this is the greatest idea that I think recaps the most of concerns that I heard in the issue and that folks who reached out told me. So this is something that I am working on towards at the moment. Was this understandable? Are there any opinions, objections, feedback, anything?
Be honest, because it's out of tree, I can just say go crazy. Like once we prove it, we can decide if we want to pull it in or leave it outside. But the fact that it's outside, it basically integrates with what we have. It gives us that level of freedom where it's like, yeah, let's just do it. If it would be core, I think that would be a wider, bigger discussion with designs and everything.
Okay. Simon, you have a hand up.
Yeah, so a quick question, and it comes on top of existing endpoint slice features, right? Or would it push the URLs into an existing API export endpoint slice? No, right? It creates a new one and then publishes the URLs there.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, yeah, makes sense to me.
So this is important because the API export endpoint slice, the one we have right now, it's only for documentation purposes. Like you create it, it does pretty much nothing. I think that the API export virtual workspace would be accessible even if you delete this object. I'm not 100% sure, but it is like documenting just what are options. In this case, the filtered API export endpoint slice would actually not be documentation, but the one that triggers creation of endpoints that you use. So this is going to be a bit different. I am open to idea of naming it something else than endpoint slice, but it is basically going to, I am not a big fan of having two different resources for this. So I think it would make sense. But if there are strong objections to that topic, we can reconsider it.
I think it's fine to start with. Like ideally, if we want to get back to the like documentation pattern, we can always introduce some other object which owns API endpoint slice, like we have API export, it would be something else which would refer the API export and triggers the creation, and endpoint slice becomes a documentation only. But for now, I think it's like just make what's simpler and what works.
Okay, that was the idea then. I'm having one question. Where do we want to store those virtual workspaces? Do we have org for like experimental KCP stuff, or do we want it in the, okay. So there is a repo that we can use for this. Okay, I will keep this in mind. Yeah, we can give it a try. Are there any questions? Okay, I will take that as a no. I didn't take notes because I was speaking, but yeah, maybe Gemini does something or I feel it, we will see. Christoph, your topic is the next one.
Yeah, thank you. So you might have seen the PI open because I wanted to just clarify what KCP means. Then we had the discussion, I think 2 or 3 weeks or 4 weeks again here in the community call, kind of agreed on what we generally understand under the headline KCP. Then we had the email thread for the governance so that all the maintainers could agree to that. And then someone slid into our DMs and kind of broke the process by hinting at trademarking violation rules. I don't think we're actually doing any of that. I checked through the CNCF trademarks. However, there are no other projects like KCP where they have just a K in the name and somewhere this means something, right? Not even K native or something, but just we would be the first. There's no precedent. To avoid any further legal ramifications with CNCF, I would just mostly remove that line from my PR where I define what KCP means and maybe rewrite it to KCP's slogan is Kubernetes like control planes. then we just don't call it, that's the meaning. We just say, this is our slogan, this is our headline. And I hope that should then satisfy everyone. Because I don't want to go into long legal discussions with anyone about anything. Marco, you were first. Thank you.
So I can totally understand that you want to go like easier way. That's totally understandable, but I think we should actually solve this once and for all time and actually just like figure it out, because wherever you're put, you will eventually have people that will complain. And like this is, you said it, or someone, I think it was maybe MJ, said that it is not part of the project name. So we are using it as a project description. Like you can't forbid us to mention in the project description Kubernetes, because well, it is based on Kubernetes in a way. And if you, for example, look at the trademarks of the Linux Foundation, you will see that you actually have projects that have Kube and Kubernetes in their name, like in the name itself, not in the description. So if this requires that we ask CNCF for a formal, opinion on this, better do it. But like, I wouldn't do this just because one person complained. And I know who did it. I have a lot of respect for them. But like, I don't think there's a rule that can forbid us to explain KCP as something that's Kubernetes-like, because it's the truth after all. MJ, you have a hand up.
No, I'm on the same page. It's been from the start in one or another form. From the initial commit, it's been there when we went to the sandbox. Nobody had any issues with that. And somehow 5 years in, people start having issues with that. So I'm having a hard time to understand that this could be an issue.
And option 3 is just ignoring that email, saying, yeah, we looked at it, it's fine, and moving on.
With all due respect to the individual who responded it, I'm having a bit of challenge to take things seriously when I addressed the email directly and I didn't get any response back. So if you start a discussion, finish it, or you're basically okay with what it is there. It's as simple as that in my book, but I might be wrong.
I mean, worst case, we can always reach out to them. They are in general very responsive and like try to figure it out with them directly. But I don't see a problem. It's not part of the name.
And then maybe MJ, you just convinced the person, and that solved the discussion.
But we didn't get any response. Like in the meetings, you say silence, and you take the answer as you want it to be.
Yeah.
So I can offer, because I know them pretty well and work with them a lot, I can reach out to that person and we try to iron out things if that would work for everyone.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, and then I will do that in the upcoming days.
Sure. Sorry that I dragged us all into this.
No, it's all okay.
The same will happen soon to Kubebind, where I will define how to spell Kubebind, so get ready for that. But yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, Kubebind is going to be a longer journey, but for this, I think it is a much different case.
So, cool. Okay. Thank you very much. That was unless someone else has any opinions on this, we can also close this.
Any questions for Christoph? Okay. And now we come to the last part of the agenda for today. Any other business? Do we have anything else to discuss before we close the meeting?
Can I get a quick update on where we are with the 0.29 release?
I think that will be a question for Simon. How are we standing with the rebase?
The rebase is done. It's done and merged.
Okay, then I guess we can do the release. I was not aware of that release is done.
Oh, sorry. So then that's my mistake. Yeah, but it got merged.
Okay, let me just check something. Yeah, the issue is still not closed.
Yeah, but as I think I've written in the comment of the issue, I didn't just close it because the documentation PR was still open. But wait, but why do we have multiple issues for this?
I don't know. This one is in the
Just
milestone.
Okay, can you yeah, okay. So can you close this, please? Yeah. Then we have had 2 issues for this.
Yeah, I think you should close the PR also.
Let me see. Yeah, this
But
one.
that's yours, right, Ola? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Okay. That one is closed as well. So let me find it very quick. The milestone is empty. We can proceed with the release. I wouldn't do it on Friday, so if anything goes wrong, we don't get stuck over the weekend. Even though that I have time and could bother, but I think it's better because of everyone else. But I would say we do it on Monday. For that, Christoph, I think that you still didn't add Nilo and me as KCP maintainers on GitHub, so we can't create releases and do that sort of stuff.
it's now up to me. Good to know.
Yeah, Marvin said that you should do that.
That's exactly what I would say if I were to get access to a project.
Yeah.
Okay. You and Nilo? Okay. Admins everywhere? Okay.
Not admins, but the KCP maintainers, or however is it called. I think there is a team for that.
Mhm.
Yeah, KCP maintainers.
That's not the right spelling.
But okay. With that, I can volunteer to take care of release if anyone wants to join me. I think there were folks who were interested.
I was interested, but I'm on vacation next week, so I have to wait for the next release.
Okay. Then there's a thumbs ups from Nilo. I will reach out to you probably tomorrow, and then we will schedule something for Monday and do it together.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Okay. Then, are there any other topics?
Just maybe a note to all the people like who contributing, and I know Ola, you mentioned the PRs. Sorry for that. I know that everybody's a bit swamped with other works related ones, so I know that not only me but few other people are a bit under the water now with holidays, people departing and everything. So sorry for that, and we're gonna come back as soon as release done, basically, to the PRs.
Yeah, thank you for that note. After the release is out, we will try to catch up on the backlog and make sure stuff that needs review gets on. Okay. Anything else? Going once? Going twice? Okay. Then thank you all for coming. Thank you all for the feedback and all the great discussion that we had, and hope to see all of you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Cheerio.